Okay, we're live.
Thank you. Okay, Joe, you can start at any time. Good evening. The April 27th, 2021 regular school board meeting of the Roseville Area Schools ISD 63 School Board is hereby called to order. Clerk Johnson, could you please take the roll?
Of course. Director Chu,
Yeah.
Director Anderson,
Here.
Treasurer Goggins.
Here.
Director Shaw,
Here.
Chair Bogoshevsky,
Here.
and Clerk Johnson's here.
Thank you. Do we have any agenda adjustments this evening, Mr. Superintendent?
There aren't any agenda adjustments.
Thank you. We do have at least one announcement tonight, and I will turn over the Zoom to Dr. Jenny Lake, who has an announcement for us.
Good
Dr.
evening. Yes, good evening, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled to introduce to you this evening the new Director of Student Services in Roseville Area Schools beginning July 1st. Her name is Miss Niceta Thomas, and she hails from St. Paul Public Schools and is currently an elementary building principal and has experience in leadership in student services, special education in St. Paul as well. I'm really excited to welcome Niceta and welcome her dynamic leadership and vision. And with that, I'll turn it over to Niceta.
Good evening, everyone. How are you?
Good evening.
Excited
Good
to
evening.
be here. Excitement is one of my words. I want to apologize ahead of time if you hear any little pitter patters in my background. I'm in the quietest room in my house, but my kids are a little louder. Again, I'm Niceta Thomas, the new Director of Student Services. I'm really excited to have this position. It's one of my dream jobs. I've been working hard on my path in leadership and education to get here. And I just, first of all, want to thank Roseville for giving me this opportunity. As Dr. Lake said, I hail from St. Paul. I'm a 20-year educator in St. Paul with St. Paul Public Schools currently, where I'm the principal at Brock and Michelle Obama Elementary until June 30th. Long line of, started out as a special ed teacher, coach, supervisor, admin intern, now principal. And so I lead my life by what's best for children. And that's how I became a special educator. And what's best for children is that they're happy and that they're learning. And so my vision on education is as long as our kids are happy and they're learning, we're doing a good job. And that wraps around making sure that they have all that they need to be happy and learning. And that's where my roots lie deep in the equity of our children. And that's the equity of our Black and Brown children and the equity of our children who receive specialized services. And a lot of those children are our Black and Brown children. And as a Black woman myself, it just hits hard on my heart to see the over-identification of children that look like me in special education. So it's my lifelong goal to change that narrative. While we know there are children out there that do need special education, we want to make sure that the children that are in special education are supposed to be in special education and not just putting them there because we don't know how to work with them in a system that was not built for them. And so that's what I believe I've been doing my whole career. And so I want to bring that with me to Roseville, my deep roots in training and equity, and just my love and passion for children. And again, I just thank you all for this opportunity. I really have not stopped smiling until since I've gotten that call that offering me the position. And so I feel blessed and I feel quite lucky to be a part of a community that believes in what I believe in. When I mention to folks that I'll be moving to Roseville, they are like, wow. And so that just touches my heartstrings, and I'm excited to be here, and I can't wait to July 1st to get started put my feet on the ground and I'm ready to rock and roll.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from my fellow board members? Looks like, Curtis has something. Director Johnson.
Yes, welcome. I think you're going to find a great home here, and we're very glad to have you. And thank you, Superintendent. This is still weird. Okay, Assistant Superintendent Lake, for this great hire. Equity. We do look at everything through an equity lens, and I'm going to be very. I'm very excited to see what you think of what we're doing and things that we can do to make things better. So welcome on board.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I've seen some of the work that you're doing. And so that's why I feel so blessed to be joining this work.
Welcome and thank you for being able to join us this evening. And we're obviously very fortunate to have you with us. So
All right. Thank you.
Congratulations. Yep.
hey.
Thanks.
Welcome.
With that, we'll move to community input. There is no one here in the boardroom. Michelle, do we get any community input letters to read this evening?
We have no community input.
Great. With that, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, less gifts and retirements.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. Curtis, could you take the roll for the vote?
No problem. Director Chu.
Aye.
Director Anderson.
Aye.
Director Shaw.
Aye.
Treasurer Goggins.
Aye.
Chair Boguszewski.
Aye.
Clerk Johnson votes aye.
Thank you. We did have some retirements. So Clerk Johnson, could you please handle that for us this evening?
It'd be my pleasure. We have two retirements today. Victoria Queenan from Parkview Center School and Melinda Wade Johnson from Falcon Heights Elementary. Combined 24 years of service to our wonderful district, and it is with it's with a great love and admiration that I put forward these retirements.
Second.
Thank you, Kitty. Seconded. Clerk Johnson, take the roll vote, please.
Chair Boguszewski.
Aye.
Treasurer Goggins.
Aye.
Director Anderson.
Aye.
Director Shaw.
Aye.
Director Chu.
Aye.
Clerk Johnson votes aye.
Thank you. So yes, accepted with great appreciation, as Curtis said. Again, as we always say, just an example of dedication to our kids and our families and our community and all of our colleagues here. So all the best of luck to Ms. Queenan and Wade Johnson as you begin your life away from your current roles. Thank you. We also did have some more gifts. So I think Director Anderson has agreed to share those tonight.
Certainly, thank you. We'd like to thank the following for their generous donations and their gifts to our schools. We'd like to thank Viking Demolition and Specialty Services, a monetary gift to be used for the boys golf team for Roseville Area High School. We want to thank Peterson Dental, PA, a monetary gift to be used by the girls track team at the Roseville Area High School. We want to thank Roseville Boys Backcourt Club, a monetary gift for some season-ending awards for Roseville Area High School. And we'd like to thank Kids in Need Foundation for some Lysol disinfecting wipes. Those will come in handy for the staff to use throughout Roseville area schools. We thank again our generous and our wonderful community for their gifts this evening.
Thank you for sharing those, Todd. And yes, thank you to all of those out there for your continued generosity. It just keeps coming and coming. We really appreciate it. All of us do. With that, we can move into our reports and non-action items. And first up, we will turn once again to Assistant Superintendent Lake, who will introduce some folks to us who are going to share the update on AVID and certification this evening about the AVID program. Jenny.
Good evening again. I think everyone knows that it's absolutely my honor to be able to introduce our AVID presentation this evening. As you know, AVID permeates all we do at the secondary level and impacts the learning experience of every single student and family in Roseville area schools, again, currently at the secondary level. And with that, I'm very honored to introduce our co-AVID directors in this district, Tana Bogenholm and Ann Barnes, along with Principal Freer from Fairview Alternative High School, Principal Chris Hester, and Associate Principal Angie McGaster Woods from Roseville Area High School, along with Principal John Cook and Associate Principal Mr. Joe Bew from Roseville Area Middle School. So I will turn it over to Ms. Bogenholm. Thank you.
Tana, I think you're muted.
Yes, I am. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for having us. It's great to be here every year, bringing the AVID system to you and telling you how and what we've been doing throughout the school year. A reminder that AVID, the mission statement, is to close the opportunity gap by preparing all students for that college readiness and success in a global society. And then to remember, and a reminder for all of us, is the purpose of the system really is to support those students and the educators as they increase school-wide and district learning and performance. We're going to set the stage this evening and really talk about the frameworks. We're going to talk about college and career readiness, and what that is really helping educators reframe the way that they see student potential. We're going to talk about the 4 school-wide domains: instruction, systems, leadership, and culture. And we want to make sure that we'll take a look at student support as well as the alignment with the district's strategic plan. And then we're also going to talk about Wicker, which is the amazing instructional model that we use 7 through 12. So the AVID system, we have 4 domains, and a strong AVID system transforms all 4 of those domains. They are not independent. They are embedded and threaded. And so that's what I want you to think about as we're moving through this evening. I also want to remind you, there are 7,200 students in the Roseville system right now, and half of those students are receiving AVID school-wide, half. And so imagine if you had all receiving AVID school-wide. So I just want you to think about that lens as we move through this. With instruction, remember that it promotes all of those things that we work on, the Wicker strategies, and Wicker is writing, inquiry, organization, collaboration, and reading. And that is that strong instructional framework that we use. The 21st century skills, goal setting, and monitoring those goals, rigor for all, and then of course the student leadership. And then a reminder with systems. The systems are going to support all of those things. The site and district teams, professional learning, secondary and AVID elective classes, and we'll talk specifically about those. Equity and access to rigorous courses, and then of course the data collection and analysis. And leadership, that's going to ensure the strategic planning, the modeling of expectations, college readiness, mission and vision, the career readiness, and then of course the distributed leadership approach. We need to have all voices to know about AVID and to utilize AVID. And then of course the culture. The culture is going to foster that college awareness and preparation and that whole common belief in student success for all students. Family and community involvement, high expectations, again, for all. And that means all students and all educators. And then of course, the positive and safe environment. So let's go back a little bit. The history of AVID. So AVID arrived in the school system in 2008, and that was through a GT and equity grant. And we started with 3 classrooms, a classroom at Parkview, a classroom at Rams, and a classroom at Roz. And since then, look at the growth. We've included FAS. We have included more sections. RAMS, RAS, and FAS became schools of distinction. RAMS and RAS became national demonstration schools. And then now we are up to 15 sections, which is really, really exciting. And of course, the future holds a lot more. So I talked a little bit about the AVID elective. A reminder that there is the AVID elective and there's also school-wide. So in the AVID elective, students will apply and interview, and then they're selected. This is all voluntary. And so students, once they apply and are selected to be in the AVID elective, they can choose every year to be a part of it or not. And these are all the different criteria. In the academic middle, maybe they're the first in their family to attend and complete college. They have that desire and determination to work hard. Maybe the race and ethnicity are underrepresented, economically disadvantaged. There are many, many special circumstances. And there's much more. Each student has their own story. So as we take a look at the AVID elective classes, this is just an overview of what RAS, FAS, and RAMS looks like this year with 15 sections. And we really do have representation from our community within these AVID elective classes. And we are up to 387 students. The demographics, this is 7th through 12th grade. And just to show the representation that we have students from the gifted ed program, in EL, in special education. And again, the representation is strong. Our language breakdown, we have 28 languages that are spoken 7th through 12th grade in the AVID electives. And that's wonderful. And we love these families and we learn their stories and we hear their voices. And so it really adds depth to our AVID system. So we're going to show you a little bit of our AVID elective students. And so we will show you what is called a Jamboard if you're not familiar with it. We had all of the AVID elective teachers, 7th through 12th grade, add components of what they do in their classrooms. So we'll start with 7th grade. And here's bits and pieces. So I'm just going to highlight one thing. AVID has taught me to be self-confident and not be shy in front of my classmates. For example, presenting in a breakout room with a tutor and speaking out a little more. This is from the class of 2026. Another 7th grade classroom. The most important part of being an AVID student is taking risks. AVID gives you a lot of volunteering and leadership opportunities. And you'll also see that they're starting to learn about college. They're starting to research college. It's just the beginning stages of their dreams and their aspirations. In 8th grade, they are digging even deeper. They're really good at the AVID tutorial process. They are meeting with their mentors weekly, and they are just really enjoying school. And again, finding out who they are, finding their voice. Miss Barnes, I'll let you take away.
All right, so the AVID freshmen this year have really been digging into what strengths they are bringing to high school and how they can capitalize on those strengths. And so they've looked at things like their personality type. They've done some goal setting and created college roadmaps. If you want to continue, some of the other classes have also been working on things like time management, doing AVID family time. That's been a huge piece, especially as they have transitioned from middle school to high school, is continuing that AVID family and getting to know their new teachers at ROS. And then continuing to work on skills like focused note-taking, time management. But really what you see come out strong, especially in this 9th grade group, is their need for community and the fact that they feel like AVID is a family. And then 10th grade, they really have started thinking about how they get ready for 11th grade, which tends to be a rigorous year for them. It's a real big focus on college and career, starting to do some ACT prep, thinking about your current self and how that translates into your future self. And so we've had alumni come back and talk to them to kind of inspire them and talk about their paths and journeys. So really getting them starting to think about what might I want to do after high school? And then the FOS also has a slide on this, and I'll have Laura talk about what FOS has been doing.
So at FOS, we have one elective class that is a joint class for 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. And this was one of the events that we did this year. We did an e-mentoring, and I can talk about that in a little while. But really what we're trying to get our students who are at the end of their high school career is to empower them as much as possible so that they can find their voice and change and make significant changes in our society. And so one way that they're doing that this year is our e-mentoring program switched to virtual because of the pandemic, and they were able really to connect with another adult to hear their career path and yet share what life is like as a high school student.
And at Roz, we've been really lucky because Miss Oberstar, one of our avid elective teachers at this level, is a math teacher, and she's been leading a math and science prep class for the ACT. So students have been able to log on through Schoology and Zoom and take this ACT math and science prep, and she opened it up to the entire school. So we have anybody who is interested in prepping both. We had some seniors hop on earlier that took the ACT this spring, and then many of our juniors across the school are hopping on to get this preparation for the ACT. We partnered with the North Suburban Youth Coalition for Justice with 11th graders as well, and they've been helping our students work on their resumes and get them ready for applications, and also just get them job ready if they would like to go out and get jobs in our community. So we were partnering with that organization, and it's been a really great experience for our students, and our tutors have also been working with our students to help them refine their resumes. And then as well, obviously 11th grade is a time that they're really trying to focus in and narrow down their college choices and think about potential careers. So they're starting to do some research on what's a reach school, some good fit schools, and then something that they feel is more a safe school. So they're taking a look at where they might want to apply next year and what schools they want to put on their ACT to have their scores sent to. And then of course, our 12th graders. This has been really hard for us because this is an amazing group of 12th graders and seniors across both FOS and ROS. And so we showed all of their involvement. These are just leaders in our school community. And obviously every year it's hard to see them go and move on, but we're so excited for the places that they have gotten into and the opportunities that they have. And so as well, there's just some quotes kind of throughout this of the things that they've gained. They've been very reflective lately about what AVID has meant to them. And they really are looking to have this be a community that they lean on as they head off to the next step. And then that being said, our students have in a very tough year where a lot of this work has been done online because a lot of the scholarships were due when we were still in distance learning. Students have put it all out there, put their applications in. And as you can see, they have received some amazing opportunities and scholarships from both our community, local scholarships like the Act 6 scholarship, and national, we have a Dell Scholar as well this year again. And so, and this, it doesn't even encompass what they're being offered from their schools that they're attending. So we're really excited and we're very thankful for the community for all the support for our seniors. And then it's a big week in AVID. A lot of them are making their decisions and committing this week, but the students that have decided, they let us put kind of a variety of some of the schools that they have decided to go to next year. And so this is both FOS and ROS students and where they are headed.
All right. So again, we wish our students were here, but it is fun to see that. And I know that the AVID elective teachers had a lot of fun putting that together. So we thank them. So we're going to take a look at the framework that, that I talked about at the beginning. There's the instruction systems, leadership, and culture around the edges. Those are the strengths. Within this framework, you're going to see student agency, and that's what you see in the triangle. And we want to remember that the educators are reframing how they see student potential and reframing how they create a learning ecosystem with that existing talent, existing everything, resources, and the systems that we may have to adjust to and maybe even change. So within this framework, what students need, let's remember they're going to need rigorous academic preparedness. They are going to need opportunity knowledge, and we want to make sure that that student agency stays strong. So we're going to talk a little bit about all of these as we move through this. So we want to make sure that the students have those academic skills and they are completing those rigorous college and career preparatory curriculum and experiences. We also want to make sure with opportunity knowledge that students are researching and getting to know what all of those opportunities are for them. We want to make sure that they are setting those goals, that we are monitoring those goals, and that we are helping them follow through with those. And also making choices that are going to support them in the long term. We want to make sure that they are also navigating lots and lots of different transitions. And Roz and Faz do such a beautiful job of doing that, especially moving through 11th and 12th grade and on to college. So we're going to take a look at the next level. So we know that students need things, but for them to get there, we as educators are going to need to do the following. We are going to have to insist on rigor. We're going to have to break down those barriers. We're going to have to align all of our work, and we need to advocate for students. And we will go into depth with each of these, but we're going to show you how it's happening in Roseville. So we're going to take you on a little tour. We're going to show how the educators are providing college and career readiness to all 7th through 12th grade area, Roseville area students. So I'd like to introduce Ms. Hester.
Thanks, Tana. Hi, thank you for having us. And insisting on rigor is something that is very important to us, especially through AVID, but also school-wide, which is why AVID school-wide is really one of the things that helps us bridge those opportunities for students and making sure we're supporting them. At RAMS, we have advanced options, and this is an opportunity for kids to really choose an option within an assignment that is rigorous for them. It allows them to challenge themselves with higher critical level skills to prepare them for the rigorous courses that they will find at FOS and at ROS. And so at ROS, what we end up having, we have concurrent courses, and these are courses taught by teachers who actually have a master's in the area of study or a master's plus 18 credits in the area of study with partnerships such as St. Paul College, MCTC, and Hennepin Tech and Century College. And then along with our AP advanced courses that we have at ROS. And I know there are some courses at FOS as well. Access is really, we encourage our kids to take at least one rigorous course. And that's been the narrative for us for a while now, just at least one every year as you go through ROS. It is required for AVID, but it's definitely one of those things that I talk about with all of our students is to challenge themselves so they are able to enter into a college or career ready to do what they want to do. And then also those college placement tests and just making sure kids are prepared, as Anna shared, that just some of the things that are going on that staff are doing to help our students be prepared for those high level rigorous tests such as ACT, SAT, and the PSAT.
And so this year at ROS, our current AVID students really have a strong enrollment in AP classes. In our 9th grade sections, 30 of our 75 students are taking an AP course. In 10th grade, 18 out of 57. In 11th grade, 54 out of 72, and in 12th grade, 45 out of 56. Some students that aren't taking an advanced placement often will take a concurrent course, and so that's our next slide. And currently this year, a lot of those are only offered 10th through 12th grade, and I would say the majority of the students who are taking concurrent enrollment courses are in 11th or 12th grade. But we have a total of 57 AVID students taking a college level course this year. And then it's really important to us that students feel like they have options for electives, for career pathways, to try out different things. Many of our students also like to take music classes or world language. And so we've done some things to make sure students still have access to rigor and feel like they can take like a C section of a rigorous course, AP course, and have room in their schedule. And so 2 ways that we continue to do that are through the multilingual seal. And so many of our students in May here will be taking the multilingual seal test if they are bilingual. They take it in the other language that they speak at either at home or just because they're bilingual that they speak on a regular basis. And so they read, write, listen, and speak in that. And then they are able to earn college credits and often test out of a world language, and that opens up room in their schedule. As well as we also are continuing our partnership with Equity Alliance to offer summer health and phy-ed classes for our AVID students so that they can take care of those 2 requirements in the summer and open up additional credits in their schedules throughout the school year. And then Tom Tilbury, the AVID counselor at Roz, and myself went down to Rams, and we worked with them for registration as well to help problem solve any issues students were having with getting rigorous courses or getting everything they wanted to in their schedule. As well as you can see an example of a slide. Every grade level, we tried to show them what are some examples or rigorous courses that you should maybe consider or think about taking in your schedule for next year.
One of the pieces that was mentioned was advanced options at Rams, and really allowing those students to dig deeper into those topics of interest, or it could be a variety of things that teachers are doing. Some of the teachers are also calling them extensions. So at this point, classes of rigor that are high school credit bearing are the intermediate algebra, geometry, Spanish, and French. But more and more teachers are adding advanced options to their plate, and students really are giving them a try. We did have a survey at one point, and most of the 8th graders said, "I'm scared. I don't want to try it. It's going to be too hard," or "my sister said," or "my brother said." And so this is their opportunity to give it a try and to not fail, but just to see what it feels like to take more rigorous courses. We want them to be prepared. One of the other pieces is that Anne and I in our PLC have really focused on monitoring that student progress of AP and AO students. And that's been very fascinating. And we've been offering after school hours, goal setting with students, and again, just processing through it. And it's been a little tough with online, but they are doing it. They're giving it a try. So the next part is going to be breaking down barriers. Mr. Cook.
Thank you, Tana. I wish we would have had an AVID program when I was in school. It's a fantastic program, and I know that I would have benefited and I would have needed. And it was something that I would have been able to take advantage of. I did not take an advanced course, and one of the reasons I did not, because I looked in and I saw the kids that were in that class, they did not look like me. And I think my mindset as a 15-year-old was that those kids are better and they're smarter. So I discouraged myself from taking those classes. And so when I said that, to say, when you look at the barriers, there are a number of barriers that our students face in terms of academic success, and we work with our students to support them. Some of those barriers are academic, where we work to give students the academic support. Some of those barriers are that we work to encourage. And so some of our AVID teachers take on the role of a mentor, or almost as a life coach. They work with our families to support our families and give them extra support and with whatever is needed. And they provide academic support to all of our students. They're tutors, college tutors, and students learn to collaborate and work together and support one another in their courses that they're taking. And also, this is a great program in that it advocates for all students to remain and complete their AP courses. Courses are very tough, and oftentimes you have students who run into difficulties, and sometimes they may want to drop a course. So not only do we encourage them to tough it out, but it's a program that gives kids the support they need to continue to stay in the course and to be successful.
Along with expecting students to try the rigorous courses, we also encourage them to take career and technical courses. And at Roz, in the last couple of years, 134 students have taken 2 or more CTE courses in their high school career. And at FOS, 100% of our FOS Avid students have taken CTE courses. The reason why we encourage them to take those CTE courses is because it helps teach skills that they'll need for their careers. Teaching problem solving, project completion, research, time management, leadership, and definitely communication.
In addition, we've been able to maintain many of our strong partnerships we have with the community. They have tended to look a little different, and you'll see a lot more of the word virtual this year, but we've been so just impressed with our partners and their willingness to try new things with us and do things in a different way. And so we've continued a lot of our work with Best Prep through the e-mentors and speakers. Medtronic provided us a STEM panel of engineers where students could hear and see different people in different aspects of engineering. We've done some things with junior achievement, like a career fair and virtual expo. We've continued to partner with the University of Minnesota Inspire Conference, and they also offered our students a mini medical school this fall as well. And then the Society of Women Engineers has become an extremely valued partner with us in encouraging our girls to pursue STEM area careers and STEM opportunities. In addition, we've had quite a few of our students participate in the Youth Voice Service Grant applications, and they have been carrying out their grants in the community this year, everything from art and mental health to podcasts, to creating new councils to bring people together within our school. And then Affinity Plus has continued to be a strong partner with us as well for our family financial readiness and support for how to prepare for that financial step of heading off to post-secondary. In addition, our scholarship programs that we have worked with have continued to come in, and they've worked one-on-one. They've given us updates on if our students have turned in parts of their application, which was extremely helpful in a year where we were trying to do these things online with them. In addition, we're just so lucky that with the Page Education Foundation Scholarship that many of our students receive, they go and give back a lot of those hours at RAMS and within our district. And so that's been really fun to see our former students now mentoring our current students.
So it's important for us to hear from our families. Family input is used to guide our practices and our offerings. We wanted to hear about what families wanted to learn about AVID, and skills really showed up extremely important to our families and what they learned in AVID. Additionally, we wanted to hear what our families wanted to learn about, what we could assist them in their homes and having conversations with, or hosting family nights. And what you could see that showed up very well is preparing for college and career with their students. And I want to share the quote that's at the top of this slide. She has had an amazing experience in AVID. Just their ability to learn how to take notes is worth its weight in gold. Keep up the great work. My daughter is the #1 in her senior class, and a lot of her success is from AVID. We absolutely love our AVID families, and we want to continue to hear their feedback.
Some of the highlights this year at FOS with AVID, a lot, of course, like Ann mentioned earlier, it's going to be a lot of virtual. We asked students what their highlights were, and the one-on-one support that they received filling out college applications and doing their FAFSA support in small groups instead of in a big event night was really great. Our families were grateful for that. And career investigation students spent a lot of time looking at options that they had after doing an e-mentor exchange with business people from Bridgewater Bank. And each week they would email each other and learn about each other. Like I mentioned earlier, students were able to build communication skills while using their voice and sharing what it's like to be a student in 2021, and really thinking about what kind of careers they are invested in.
Like I mentioned, one of the, from some of the feedback that we had received, families really wanted to learn more about being prepared for college. And so one of the ways that we really wanted to do that this past year, and we've done it before, but we had to do it differently this year, and that was through the virtual space. And so we had a virtual Roz Family Financial Night that was very successful. We had over 100 families that joined us that night. And we had individual breakout rooms where AP and concurrent classes, PSEO and Northeast Metro, and summer opportunities were covered. FAFSA and financial aid help, senior application questions and answer, where we had some local college reps come in and assist our families and have conversations. And we had students that were sitting there with real life experience as they were working through their college applications to talk to our families of our younger students. And that was very helpful. Scholarship opportunities. And then we have our own ongoing relationship with Affinity Plus that talk to families about the financial pieces of preparing for college at the next level. And like I said, we had such a great turnout that we're looking to increase the amount of these financial nights to offer it each trimester because there was just tons of questions. And we held this in February, so we're looking to get this out even earlier so that families can continue to ask us questions and we can support them through the entire process.
And then another kind of gem of the pandemic that came out of all of this was virtual tutor office hours. And we have our tutors have been amazing this year at all of our sites, and we've shifted schedules and we've shifted the days that they work, and they have just rolled with it and keep showing up and are showing up so strong for our students. And so they asked, could we do an additional tutor office hour where in earlier trimesters, when we had the office hour at the end of the day, they would be on and students could come and get extra help and support. And now with our asynchronous day being on Friday, they get on Fridays and are willing to help students as they work through their asynchronous work as well. At the end of trimester 2, as we were transitioning to hybrid, it was a full asynchronous week, pretty much except for the Monday at the beginning of that week. And tutors ran longer hours that week, and we had 30 to 50 students come on each day and get extra help from them to finish up their assignments and turn in things that they still needed to turn in for their classes. So that's something that we're hoping to take and put into play in a different way next year, maybe to support students as they head home to meet siblings off the bus or other reasons why they can't stay after school, trying to implement some kind of virtual tutor office hour to let our students continue to get help when they get home.
One of the pieces at Rams is, again, the Avid tutors have been phenomenal. They've adjusted their schedules, like Ann said, to help with after school. At Rams, we have an actual Avid boot camp on Mondays, and that's to help the students with their TRFs. And that's the questions, their points of confusion that they're bringing to the tutorials on Tuesdays and Thursdays from their content courses. And then there's the after school help and study time on Tuesdays and Thursdays, usually during office hours. Another thing is developing those student leaders through the Avid Leaders Council. They meet on Fridays at 3. And they love to meet and they love to talk, and they are so excited to become leaders, and they're becoming pretty phenomenal leaders, and they know they will continue that when they go to Roz and FOZ. And then also building school-wide college and career awareness and readiness. We've changed our college wear day to Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So both cohorts can enjoy seeing it and also asking about possibly the colleges or universities or trade or tech schools that different people went to. We also saw and see students with college sweatshirts or t-shirts that are probably from family members or may have been given as gifts. And so it's always a great day on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Now, as far as aligning the work, Laura.
Sure. So educators align their practices and beliefs for the preparation of all students so that they can be career and college readiness in everything that they do. And AVID is embedded in all of our in our school improvement planning. This is vital for students to receive the strategies that will launch them further post-graduation. And one of the best things that my staff has taken away from AVID is having the common language, going from class to class to see common language so students know what to expect. And having that professional development supports teachers when they're doing this work. So at FOS, part of our school improvement plan this year, we use the use of Wicker strategies in all classes. Goal setting is very important to all of our FOS students. It's a requirement for ALC to do goals every 6 weeks. In AVID, we use those goals to help manage organizational strategies and really helping with our post-secondary planning. This year, we became a one-to-one iPad school as well. And we use time to teach how to use Schoology Calendar and Google Keep for assignments and the management of that. Collaboration, you can see that through student interviews and pair share notes on Zoom. And then the last thing that my teachers have been working on in their collaborative team time is question formulation, which leads to the inquiry skills. And that's one thing that we will be embedding next year at FOS is a project-based learning model using inquiry skills. And I'm very happy to say one more thing, that 4 of our AVID seniors have completed graduation requirements early and have gone on to their new adventures of college and career.
Wow.
And so this is our logic model that we used, and you can see where the stars are. That's where our AVID strategies are linked through Wicker and Writing to Learn, and then our goal setting.
As you can see, yeah, as you can see with our, as you listen to each one of us, AVID is school-wide. And school-wide means all of our students benefit from this. And there are cohort of students that are getting the tutorials, but tutorials actually happen within other contexts of our buildings. And so for us at RISE, we have been focusing on our digital organization, focused note-taking, and collaborative study groups. And it's kind of ironic in the day and age that we are in currently with distance learning. Digital organization is like, oh, you have to be organized. You have to know how you're going to get to Schoology. When you sit in a classroom and you hear a teacher say, all right, pull up your Notability, you need to download this and put it here. I'm completely lost, but they know exactly what they're doing, which is the best part about this. And then to watch them go into their small groups, and we have breakout rooms, and what's happening, and teachers have really adjusted what a collaborative study group looks like in person versus in distance learning, but now even being in blended where students at home are also in groups with students who are in the classroom with our teachers. And so we really have kind of hit those 3 pretty hard this year. Excuse me. As far as our focus with staff, it is a part of the professional focus to have something that they're going to work on, that they're going to leverage as far as any of the instructional strategies from AVID. And when we do that, we, with the size of our school, we have about 140 licensed staff, and we have pared that down to 5 cohorts. And in those cohorts, we actually work in those meetings on some of those AVID strategies, but we also do some professional development in that. So it's always embedded for us. This year, we met as cohorts twice a month while we were in distance. And now that we're back in person, For blended, we're meeting once a month, but this is our time to leverage and making sure teachers are getting what they need so students can also get what they need as they move through our system.
And here you'll find the ROS logic model, and also indicated by the red star, you can find where Avid is infused in our logic model. And at ROS, we really have a big three, and making sure that that is infused and it's blended, so it's not seen as separate is very much a goal of ours. And we obviously want to continue to use the Avid CCI data to inform our practices. And we always want to bring that to the forefront so that we're making sure that we're holding true to what we have on this document. And like I said, Avid is being infused in all that we do at ROS.
So at Rams, the way we do Avid school-wide is we have our focus areas. And these are areas that we tell parents that when your kids come through Rams, they're going to learn how to be organized. They're going to know how to use a critical reading process, which middle school, we hope they have already learned to read, but we're going to teach them how to read to learn, right? So how to take that information from the text and learn from it. And then the last thing is we tell parents that all your students are going to know how to take notes. So we talk about the focus note-taking process. So that's how we do it school-wide with us. The Wicker strategies, our students come in and they have no background. 50% of our students are new to us every year. When our 7th graders come in, they're all new. They've never seen Avid, and we have to teach them all the Wicker strategies. And one of the ways we do that, you can see here, is we divide it up by departments. So in math, they're going to talk about collaborative study groups in that first trimester. Social studies, they're going to talk about SCRAC seminars, philosophical chairs, and then you can see the rest of the list, so that by the end of the first try, they've seen these strategies and we can start using them in all of our content areas. So we started doing that a couple of years ago, and it's been a great way for us, as opposed to like every social studies teaches one area, and then math's got to try to now math can leverage what social studies teachers are doing, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's how we do it school-wide at Rams. The next slide is our logic model. So you can see again the red stars there. Again, logic models built on our SIP, our school improvement plan, and obviously Avid is infused in that in many different areas.
So as you've heard, professional development has been very important to all of our schools. And here are some examples of sessions or workshops that our staff have attended. We're really appreciative that Avid has opened up more opportunities for all staff to receive PD this year from their home during the pandemic. And our staff has taken a lot of the opportunities given to them and enrolled in more sections or courses than in any year past.
So normally ROS and Rams do Avid showcases as part of being national demonstration sites, but this year with us being in distance learning and not having people come into the buildings, we offered to do what Avid is calling a solution snapshot. And we were kind of an early adopter of virtual tutorials last spring. We got it up and running when a lot of other sites had kind of put their tutorial process on pause. And so this fall, we had the opportunity in October to teach other sites within the Central Division give them a little advice of how we had done virtual tutorials and let them ask questions of how we had implemented this. The really great part of this opportunity is that our tutors really took the lead in this discussion and helped share with other tutors and other sites how they worked with us and the teachers and the students in order to make this a more successful situation online by using things like digital tools like the whiteboard feature in Zoom, and by using the chat if students weren't able to unmute. So it was a really great opportunity for us to share what we were doing at our sites and help other sites get virtual tutorials up and running. And now our presentation is featured on the Avid site.
Another piece that Ann and I put together this year were one-pagers for all the 7th through 12th grade staff. We realized with the change with distance learning that it really was difficult to, meet and reach each of the teachers. So on these wicker wows, we called them, they came out each week, and they were resources, classroom-ready examples, everything that they needed. So as you take a look at the one on the left, interactive notebooks, anything that they would press there, it would take them to some examples. It would take them to some research. It would take them to a variety of places that would help them as a teacher. Also, we also had a few contests. And so if people wanted to share how they were using interactive notebooks, there were some little prizes for them. So for those that wanted to partake, it was a lot of fun. Also building community. We are continuing to evolve in this area. We have our monthly newsletters, articles, parent newsletters. We have family nights, service volunteering opportunities, which were very, very difficult to do this year virtually. We're used to going to, all the elementary schools and supporting them with their events, and also big events in the community. WAG, which stands for Weeks at a Glance, that is the curriculum that AVID uses, and it is scaffolded. AVID has a curriculum K-12, our curriculum for 7th through 12th grade. If you take a look at what the 7th graders are doing now, you will see that just grow and grow and grow, and the students will, by 12th grade year, they're taking everything that they have learned and they are applying it. And it also scaffolds back. So then we are preparing them to be more independent as they move on to college. And then of course, the district website, which we will continue to add to. We want our community to be able to take a look at that as well. And so Angie, if you would talk a little bit about advocating for students.
Absolutely. With what we've heard tonight, it's obviously that we can conclude that our average students are very strong leaders. So as adults working alongside of our students, we have to show up very strong for them, and not only tearing down barriers, achieving equity and access, but assisting them with finding their voice, and not only finding their voice, but amplifying their voice. So hopefully in the next few slides here, you'll see how we show up for our students.
So I think this is everyone's favorite, is being an AVID mentor. Think about this, 387 students, every single one of them has an adult mentor. And they are, staff throughout the building. And it's not just teachers, it's administration, it's office staff, it's paraprofessionals. And these are very, very, very special relationships. As you can see, these are relationships that are lifelong. For those that have had AVID mentors, you stay connected with them. You make sure that they are reaching their goals. You are supporting them socially and emotionally. You get to know their families. It's a very exciting part of what we do in AVID. And we welcome the school board also. If you would ever want to partner and have an AVID mentor, just talk with any of us that are here tonight.
And then one thing that we implemented this year at RAMS and ROS are AVID leadership councils. And so really Tana talked a little bit about what the RAMS AVID leaders are doing as they meet weekly, plan AVID family events, really encouraging them to become leaders and plan school-wide events for next fall and work with junior achievement. At ROS, we've had really some cool partnerships for our students to offer student input and feedback within our district and within our community. So they've given feedback to the Department of Teaching and Learning here in Roseville during their curriculum review cycles. We engaged in a conversation with Principal Hester about how distance learning was going and what improvements they felt could happen. And then we've also been partnering with State Senator Chuck Uyghur's office to give student feedback on issues affecting communities and teens. They really are starting to plan events. They started doing student listening sessions and healing sessions this past few weeks as all of the things have unfolded in our community. And they really just are excited to give feedback about how we can make AVID a great experience for everybody. And then in addition, students have found other ways to give their voice. We hired a new Avid elective teacher and asked them for feedback as we were interviewing and thinking about who to choose. They gave us feedback on what to look for in a candidate. They've given us feedback on the story circles and community wellness conversations, what they feel needs to happen within our school community, as well as we've had grades 7th through 12th representatives on things like the district curriculum advisory committee, the superintendent search committee, the district calendar committee, and sitting in on interviews such as the Avid elective teacher interview committee.
Dr. Lake, would you like to talk a little bit about this slide?
Yeah, I just say, phew, we have to catch our breath. I think our building leaders, our students, our teachers sure make it easy to be champions of AVID. I think about all the rationale and evidence there is with this program closing race-based opportunity gaps. It's proven beyond effective. I'm looking at this slide and I have a different copy in front of me, but really it's around future possibilities for AVID. So there certainly hasn't been any plan put in place other than we plan next year to fully investigate and explore an opportunity to expand AVID into our elementary sites and possibly even include the AVID XL for 7th and 8th grade EL students at RAMS, and also possibly expanding more AVID elective sections. And of course, this would include exploring future alternative funding sources for the district in terms of this program. But again, I'm a wholehearted believer and look forward to future partnerships, not only with everyone on this screen, but also our elementary leaders, both principals, teachers, students, and families as well. So thank you for having us tonight, and we are open for questions.
Thank you, Dr. Lake. So I'll turn it over to my fellow board members in a second, but I just want to say first, wow. You know, I've come to look forward to the annual updates on AVID and where it's all headed as much, if not more than anything else. I mean, AVID has become such a part of the cellular structure of our district, and to see how you all have taken it and helped it evolve and keep it becoming, refreshedly transformative, and not just even with that AVID itself, keeping it where it is, but wanting to take it to the next journey. It's just very exciting and breathtaking to me. And I thank you for the thorough and comprehensive report you've shared with us tonight. So with that, I'll open it up to questions or thoughts from my fellow board members. Jump in, Kitty.
I found the presentation really fascinating, and so much wonderful information was included. That's got to have been a lot of work to pull together, and appreciate the thorough presentation. I was wondering if you could comment a little bit on how were you able to keep students engaged this year? Did we have any students who had to drop out of the program or weren't as participatory? And then the second question I had was, I know you mentioned about virtual tutors and wanting to continue that next year, but I was wondering if there's anything else that you learned this year that you'll carry forward with you.
Yeah, I can speak, especially to some of the virtual tutoring and things. We just found that it was such a great way to connect with students, and our tutors were able to make kind of some special relationships where one of our tutors was even watching the Mars rover coverage with one of our students after they had talked STEM together. So we just saw that as a really great opportunity to carry that forward and think of like how we could do some of these things virtually. And like Angie said, with our virtual family financial night, we found it was probably easier for some of our families to attend virtually and not have to worry about childcare. So that's something we're planning on keeping virtual moving forward as well. Speaking to the question about students engaging, our AVID teachers, I need to tip my hat to them this year. They have absolutely spent hours upon hours on the phone, on Zooms, answering texts. We've had to totally shift and be very accessible to our students and our families. And I think oftentimes, like when I would be running the tutor office hour, an AVID teacher would be calling a student saying, get on, like you need to get this assignment done and you could use the help on it. And so they would be even guiding the student to get on to the office hour and connecting the student with the tutor. So we we lost a few students to moving out of the district, but none of our students really were leaving for reasons. A lot of times it was like a scheduling thing or something where they were graduating early. We had one graduate early. So it was a rare exception that we had a student saying like, this isn't a good fit for me. I think many of our students grabbed onto Avid as a highlight and a sense of community during this time.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to add to that, or?
Oh,
Brad, you had a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, you know, as you said, Chair Boguszewski, wonderful presentation. Thanks everybody for your continued hard work. You know, this AVID program, it just keeps getting better and better. And I applaud the idea of ways that we can expand it. And I know we've been talking about, I think, expanding it to the elementary sites for a while now. I think that's a great idea. One of the things I just had a question of, I know that I think it's in middle school that we kind of start with the Wicker strategies. Is there a chance that we can start that in 6th grade or in 5th grade, or just start with that transition, exploring some of those strategies to help with that transition?
So Avid Elementary, they don't have elective classes. It is a school-wide approach. And so if Avid Elementary started, you would start with just 6th grade, and you would start with that school-wide piece, and it would be writing. And that would be a focus. And it just starts out very gradual, kind of like what we did originally. We started with just maybe focus notes, and we worked on that for a year. And then, you know, now we can utilize a variety of things. So yes, but we would need to start slow, but we can start some of the training. That's a possibility. But it, you know, it is out there. It's a possibility, and it's also in the future.
Great.
I'll speak for all 7th grade teachers, and I will say they would much appreciate any help we could get for the students coming into 7th grade. We're just helping them. We're just trying to help them navigate the building, but also trying to teach them those skills. So any help we can get would be appreciated.
And there is the caveat of we can't utilize a lot of Avid's pieces because of licensing. And so if a school is not licensed, we can't use the materials.
Curtis, you had your hand up?
Oh yeah. Well, okay. This is as you mentioned, my favorite time of year, Avid Night. You guys are amazing. I will try to limit my questions. I do have a question about, I guess it's going to be for our Rams folks. This year we started our dual immersion. So I guess my question is, do we have any dual immersion students in Avid, and have there been any challenges with that? Because, you know, we're doing dual, you know, we're starting dual immersion for the first time in the secondary, and doing this on, so anyone who wants that one.
Yeah, I can speak to that, both for 7th and 8th grade. I believe we have 6 DLI students in 7th grade, and it's just been the scheduling. So they may miss out on a few electives because they're in Avid and DLI. And then also moving to the high school, that transition of those students, same piece, is just taking a look at the scheduling. But other than that, you're just working together with the DLI teachers and the Avid teachers.
Okay, great. Well, I'm glad that that's working great. I really thought it would, but so I guess the only thing I would add is that you know, when it comes to alternative funding that Dr. Lake had mentioned, you know, truly I love the Avid district wide, and it definitely has anecdotally, okay, has paid dividends. I definitely, you know, look forward to the day where literally anybody who wants to participate in the elective Avid can participate in the elective Avid, and right now we can't. That's not the case because money, you know, which is always the thing. But I'm just you know, I at this point, part of me should not be so you know, surprised with, you know, all the stuff that you guys are doing. Every year you come in, you show me, you know, something new and incredible, and I'm an incredible fan of the Avid program, and thank you for all the work that you guys have done to continuing to make it bigger and better, and be a model for, you know, other schools and other districts. So
Thank you. I also want to say, as much as we would love to have hundreds of Avid elective classes, we are school-wide, and that's where the Avid elective got, you know, they're that catalyst, but everyone does get all the skills and strategies. And I believe, and I think everyone can speak to this at Roz, Foz, and Rams, is teachers have become they are experts utilizing the Avid skills and strategies. And we see that school-wide with students.
well, okay, so the only thing, okay, and I completely agree with that. Okay, so the only thing that I would add to that is that the students that are part of the elective, okay, you know, they're getting that extra, you know, they are getting the ability to have people additionally work with them, right, and show them the possibilities of, you know, what can happen after after school, you know, and, you know, having those Avid mentors is a big thing. Having someone, having an additional person to make sure you turn your homework in, to, hey, there is this, you know, we really need you to look into taking the ACT, even if you hadn't thought about going taking going to college. You know, I know for myself, when I was in school, I had a very powerful influence pushing me to go to college. Okay, and not, you know, fortunately that was inside my family. Not everyone has that, and not everyone, not everyone who, when it comes to families who want their kids to go to college or be career ready, know how to do it, right? And so those, you know, those kids who are in those electives, who've chosen and who were accepted for that elective, are getting that opportunity. And so that's really all I'm referring to, is that for, you know, right now we have a segment, and I would not know how many people are not able to go into the Avid elective. But, you know, I guess that's the thing that I would, you know, one day I really would love for to be able to say categorically, there's nobody that does, anybody who wants to participate in that elective can participate in that elective, because you guys are awesome. All right. And so I think I just want everyone to be able to have access to that awesomeness. So thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Rose or Frank? We good? Rose,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for the presentation. I was just like smiling nonstop the whole time. So thank you. I echo what my fellow board members have said. The question I have a wondering is about the alumni, the students who have graduated. How are we like staying in touch with them? How many do we have already? Just curious about that. Would love to hear more about that.
So I think we figured out when we were working with the scholarship committee and talking about like how long we've had AVID seniors. I think we're on our 10th year of having our graduating class in AVID. And so that's really been exciting. And I think most of us, like I know Mr. Bew has been on here, Ms. Bogenholm, those of us that have had AVID classes, we stay in pretty close contact or can find somebody that can reach the students in our classes. And so for the most part, we have a pretty good feel for what they're still doing. We also have an AVID alumni Facebook page that we've encouraged all of our alumni to be a part of. And so when cool opportunities come about, we post them on there. And that's also the way that we got some of our alumni to come back for the panel, as we posted it out, and then they reached out and talked to the teachers and said, hey, I'd be willing to come for that panel. And so at least once a year, we're bringing in alumni into our classes to just let them share their inspiring stories, where they're at, like what they learned, what they've carried with them. So we really try to connect and stay connected to our AVID alumni and make sure that they still feel supported even while they're in college. And many reach back and ask us for letters of rec or references or things as they move forward and continue on their path. So.
And I'd also like to add, we have 2 AVID alumni who are teachers in our district now. I mean, they sat in our classrooms, and 3, that's right, 3 now. And we have 3 more that are going to be graduating soon, and they want to be back in this district, and they're phenomenal young people. So I think that's really exciting. And then Anne, do you want to talk a little bit about the class you're teaching right now and how that?
Yeah, and with Intro to Urban Ed and the education pathway, we've various years offered the tutoring class or offered other opportunities around that. And so actually a lot of our current tutors right now are our alumni or people that have been through that class. And so we try to really stay connected with them and continue to try to bring them back to our district to serve like in any role that they would aspire to. So a lot of them have gone the route of paraprofessional, have gone the route of AVID tutor, and then have completed their education degrees and have tried. And as we said, in 2 of our former AVID tutors are also teachers within the district as well. So it's been a nice connection for us to bring back our students.
That's great. Thank you. You kind of answered the next question I had about the teaching pathway. So it's a great kind of like a natural grow your own, right? In terms of those who want to come back and give back to Roseville. So thank you for all your work. Yeah, very, very much appreciate it.
Thank you. Frank, anything? We good? All right. Thumbs up from Director Shaw. Well, once again, I'll just say thank you for this presentation. I know that a lot of time and a lot of effort goes into these things, and you wonder, oh my gosh, does the board really care? We do. I think this has been something we've all been interested in, and past boards before I ever got on it, and future boards will always be interested in this. And I think Dr. Johnson's questions, I think, are ones you're going to continue to hear. It's just pushing and pushing and pushing for expanding and making things school-wide and all student-wide. You know, as a district, we have an intentional push to also nurture and care for kids who, for right reasons, don't necessarily want to go to college. And so obviously Wicker and other aspects of AVID can benefit them too as it grows and becomes school-wide. This is the program classically may have started out for, you know, kids who didn't think they could go to college and then suddenly realize they can, to, I think, we all think, kids who achieve something that they didn't think they could, whatever that might be. And self-realization and self-discovery in that magical moment when you suddenly realize you've done something that maybe yesterday you didn't really think you had in you, whatever your future holds. So I think that's where this board at least will probably continue to push. Director Johnson articulated it very well, to expand some of these concepts to everyone. So great job, keep going. And seriously, really appreciate this, and thank you for all the time and effort you put into this report and this presentation. And obviously, if you didn't practice, you look like you practiced who would say what and in what order. So really nice job, really good job. Thank you all very much for staying this evening with us, and look forward to more great things to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
With that, we will move into our next report, which is the first reading of policy 544 on hazing. And Assistant Superintendent Lake, it looks like you will be introducing this to us.
Yes, let the excitement continue from avid to hazing. Some small language revisions when I compared our policy to MSBA, but I did not pull out anything significant, so certainly open to all of your suggestions. I'll just run through the revisions as I have recommended them. Section 4.0 reporting procedures, just a gender reference to they, removing he or she. And please interrupt me as I proceed if you have additional comments. Section 4.3, striking the first sentence, adding the singular a, and then adding report taker versus singular principal on the last sentence. Section 4.4, the elimination of the word or. Section 5.0, school district action, 5.3, and versus the in the first sentence. Further down, the removal of the word severe, so sufficient to deter violations. Section 6.0, reprisal, simple elimination in the last sentence of the word or. And that is it.
Thank you. Any thoughts, questions, comments?
Jenny, I just had a quick question going back to 4.5 and 4.6. It looks like those were actually completely newly added sections. Is that right? Is that what MSBA is recommending?
I didn't catch that, Michelle. We added those and I didn't highlight them.
4.5 and 4.6.
Yeah, it's all, it looks like it's completely newly added. So I was just wondering if that was what MSBA was recommending.
Yes, thank you. I apologize for the omission. Yeah. Or the omission of the addition.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Thanks, Jenny. Right.
And Curtis, you had a question?
I did have a question regarding 4.3. We shall inform the building report taker. I'm not exactly sure what that means. The person who takes the report. The phrasing is a little odd for me.
I could align the language to 4.2.
Well, yeah, because that's
designee.
Well, okay, well, because that's where it gets a little weird for me because in 4.2 you say the building principal or the principal's designee or the building supervisor is the person responsible for receiving the reports. I'm like, okay. Then 4.3, we get into a teacher, administrator, volunteer, contractor, or other school employee of the school district shall be particularly alert, which is fine. As such person who receives a report or observes, which makes me think that any of these people can receive the report, which I would think a teacher could receive a report of hazing. So it's a little ambiguous for me. So
I can clean that up, certainly.
Okay.
Can I expand a little bit on what Curtis said? Because that was a little ambiguous for me as well. And I was wondering if in 4.2, you just want to say, and shall be referred to in this policy as the building report taker. Because you use that as if that's a term or position. And so defining at the end of 4.2 that that's that term would clarify that as well.
Thank you.
Well, and to continue that, so in 4.2, the intent is the intent to mean that the building principal or the principal's designee or the building supervisor on any given day could be the person responsible for receiving reports, or is the intent to specifically assign the responsibility of receiving reports to one of those titles?
I think both, as I hear you say that.
anyway, so you get the sense of ambiguity. So we'll,
Michelle and I will wordsmith that and send it out.
because my own fear is if more than one, or certainly more than 2 or 3 people are named as accountable, then really no one's accountable. It's my own feeling on organizational behavior, which not everyone may share, but. So I concur with Kitty and Curtis in there. Any other questions or comments for Jenny? Frank?
So just still on the subject of the 4.3, you have, oh, I'm trying to bring up my packet here. So you've added to make reasonable efforts to address and resolve hazing, resolve the hazing. So does that mean to stop it?
That's how I interpret that. Yes.
Maybe you could say that, because it seems like reasonable efforts to address and resolve is, wow. I mean, I'm just not sure what that is. But do you see what I mean? It seems kind of vague, and yet it puts a particular responsibility on the reporter. That is, that an action has been taken before the report has been made, and then that the report is made after the action is taken. And do you see what I mean? Even if the action resolves it, the report still has to be made.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just asking. What really, if that's the intent, that it be stopped, then maybe it's worth saying that, or make a reasonable effort to stop it and then report it.
And both.
Yeah, and it's not conditional on stopping it to report it, and it's not, you know, whether it's stopped or not, you still have to report. Because that's a bigger responsibility than the reporting.
Other questions, thoughts? Looks like that might be it, Jenny.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next up, I think, is still you again, policy 708.
I'm
Oh,
gonna jump
no,
in
I'm sorry. Sherry Thompson, sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to
Sherry.
jump in on that one. So policy 708, again, it's part of the administrative review. It was last revised in August of 2015. I'm going to go to page 2 of the policy as far as changes. Any changes are under 3.3.0. We did in the past employ a coordinator. We had a designated coordinator. We've always had, in recent years, we've always had a district-wide team, but we had a coordinator, and we're no longer employing the coordinator. Actually, Superintendent Lake and I have been heading up, Assistant Superintendent Lake in this case, heading up the district-wide team as far as the plan goes. And then each of our buildings has a representative on that committee, and each of the buildings has a crisis response plan.
Thank you, Sherry. Any questions or comments? Looks like we're good on this one as is. Sherry, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then we'll stick with you as we move into the next item, the monthly financial update.
Okay, so I was not going to do a presentation, but You're stuck with me now. Just kind of organize my thoughts, and I'm hoping once I get into a lot of these screens, I sometimes cannot see what is projecting, so please let me know. Are you seeing a PowerPoint? I just have a few
Yes.
slides here.
Yep.
Perfect. Just kind of as far as a financial update, of course, we're still, because this is a unique year with the pandemic. Typically, we come to you approve the preliminary budget in June prior to the school year starting, and then you approve a mid-year budget in January. Well, again, because of some activities this year, we did have a loss of 240 students from what we had projected, or I should say pupil units. It was approximately 3%. So we came in under enrolled, and that resulted in a decrease of about $2.3 million. We discussed this at the mid-year budget revision time. With the ongoing pandemic, as you are aware, it's resulted in added expenses in many areas, including childcare, technology, personal protective equipment, additional cleaning equipment, cleaning supplies. We've had additional staffing and substitute costs. Many of these added costs or startup costs, getting kids back in school, have been offset by federal CARES dollars, which are one-time funds. And the reason that I'm bringing that up is you've been aware of that, but we want to update you as to where we're at, because things have shifted from when you took action on the revised budget in January. So we're going to be bringing you an update to reflect some of those additional CARES dollars and expenses. We will be bringing that to you at your meeting on May 11th. So you'll have an additional budget revision for the current year. So that takes care of the current year, unless there are any questions. So then kind of touching on the next year, or on the upcoming year, and this is just a reminder, these are the parameters that were updated or adopted rather in January. We continue to monitor our enrollment as we do every year. We did make an estimate as of February, but we'll continue to watch that again because of the ongoing pandemic. And we'll use the most current information when we bring you the preliminary budget for adoption in June. We do have the budget hearing in May, so you'll get to see it obviously before we get to June. We are right now, we have built in, as far as our parameters, 1% increase in the per pupil formula allowance from the state. As you're all likely aware, we have the House that's currently at a 2% increase and the Senate that has a 0% increase. So we're kind of in the middle, and hopefully, I believe they're supposed to adjourn by, I believe it's May 17th.
Yep.
So again, we'll keep you posted on where we're at as far as the legislature. We're projecting right now no increase in the statewide appropriation for special education. Again, that's a decision that will be made by the legislature. The levy, as far as the overall levy, will be calculated based on what you approved last December. And then any receipt or expense, any changes in CARES funds will come through the business office and the administration. And obviously we will share that with the board. Depending on where we're at as far as the legislature and other items, we may have be recommending use of part of the fund balance to partially offset any operating deficits that we do have for next year. So that's on the revenue side. The expenses, as always, we will continue to focus our resources on equity and student achievement. Staffing adjustments will be made according to enrollment changes and align with our class size ranges for all sites. Those class size ranges are at the same target levels as they are were for the current year. We do build in estimated salary settlements into our projected budget, as we do also for insurance premiums, dental, LTD, life, all of our benefits. And we always monitor staff retirements. We project what those will be and we adjust accordingly. And again, these are assumptions. They're general guidelines and they're based on our best estimates. So just an update or just kind of a review of what those parameters were. So the big thing, of course, is continuing to monitor our enrollment. As all of you may recall, we had projected, we took our enrollment from February 1st, and then we projected that we would recoup 60% of the enrollment that we lost from last spring to when the school year started this year. So, and right now, and again, you know, looking at that, right now we're just about 139 students down, which is actually very positive.
Yeah.
Because we're early, you know, we're still fairly early. We get a lot of movement in the summer months. You know, we're still in April, so I think we're very positive that we will recoup or enroll get a lot of the students back. Again, we approached it conservatively at 60%, but I feel very confident at this point that we're going to hit those targets, and we will keep you updated. And that is a big driver, of course, in our budget projections. And then the other thing, as I mentioned, is awaiting the outcome of the legislative session. And then, of course, the other big item as far as what is next is the district's operating referendum, the operating levy expires June 30th of 2022. So the next fiscal year will be the last fiscal year. So we will need to go, in order to continue that, we would need to go to our local taxpayers in November of 2021, this upcoming fall, for renewal or any potential increase in order to continue that. And I will leave it at that. Stand for questions.
Thank you, Sherry. Anyone have a question or comment? I can't see everyone, so.
Yeah, just
Rose,
a
go ahead.
comment. Yeah, Sherry, as always, just thank you for how concise you have put this together to kind of remind us where we were, where we are going, and just some updates. So really appreciate your work to keep us posted and keep us updated. Yeah, really, really appreciate it.
Aldo.
Unmute here. I'm thinking regarding that last slide, of course, the board's been talking about the operating referendum for some time and knows that wants to avoid expiration of the current levy, and there's been much talk about an increase needed. So it would seem to make sense to bring, as the board's going to be deciding questions and amounts in the next few months here, it seems that it would make sense to bring to the next meeting some possibilities for the board to consider.
Yeah.
Sure. Kitty?
That's actually what I was going to request, is if you could bring some options to the board for our next meeting in terms of recommendations for how you would believe we should proceed for next fall. I think that would be very appreciative and a good timing at this point.
We can certainly put that together. We can look at current level funding, additional funding based on some of our past budget trend data and what we're anticipating in the future to give you some further information.
Yeah, I do think though, I know some of those recommendations will depend on some of the deadlines that, like the legislature, right? I mean, that's not ending till it is the 17th. So I know that some of your scenarios or recommendation will base on, you know, kind of where it is trending. Hopefully by then by then we'll maybe have some ideas.
Any other thoughts? Sherry, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And look forward to hearing about some options next time. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks, Sherry.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
With that, we will move to our only action item tonight. So Michelle has put together the proposed calendar for our meetings for the next school year. So I don't know if anyone's had a chance yet or did take the opportunity before the meeting to looking these over, see if there are any conflicts. If not, then I would just entertain a motion to approve the calendar as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Katie.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussions on this? We did add, Michelle asked me if I wanted her to talk about it, we can just point out that we did add a July 27th meeting, a summer meeting, to have on there as may be needed to help with any decisions around the referendum or other things that are going on at that point in time. So, all right, no other discussions. Curtis, could you please take the roll call on the calendar vote?
Of course. Director Shaw,
Aye.
Treasurer Goggins,
Aye.
Director Anderson,
Aye.
Director Chu,
Aye.
Chair Boguszewski,
Aye.
and Clerk Johnson votes aye.
Thank you. Looks like we'll be doing it again for another year. With that, we have the study session report generously provided for us this evening by Director Shaw. Frank, thank you very much.
All right, well, thank me after I finished it.
Okay.
Okay, the April 13th study session was unusually a rich one with 3 lengthy and important reports, each followed by detailed discussion. First, regarding the proposed upcoming operating referendum that we've just been talking about. We heard from Peter Leatherman, CEO of the Morris Leatherman Company, who had conducted an extensive survey of many diverse stakeholders. We learned that though our constituents remain in the majority strong supporters, they're less sure of their opinions regarding the strengths and requirements of our public schools. This uncertainty, perhaps lack of resolve, is probably due to all of the uncertainty surrounding the pandemic. We concluded that we have to work cut out for us to keep the communication lines open, and that our constituents are good listeners and are inclined to support this crucial funding stream, even in the face of personal financial sacrifice. We are lucky to have an electorate that responds so positively to a survey like this. Second was a detailed report from Jake von der Linde, Melissa Sonic, and Maureen Foreman on the progress made over the past year in curriculum program review. Though this whole process was brought to a screeching halt in the spring of 2020, a great deal of work has since taken place. This began in the summer, necessarily, with the difficult task of developing and reviewing curricula for the 3 learning models as required by the state: in-person, distance, and blended. Those launched successfully in the fall, though our tentative steps toward in-person learning had to be scaled back in November. The pandemic also forced a delay of new science and language arts standards. Otherwise, through virtual group meetings up until March, this past March, and since then, limited in-person meetings, the work of curriculum review and development has carried forward. We heard about progress in K-12 health, music, and Phi Ed, about the inclusion of absent narratives in the K-6 social studies. In fact, inclusive narratives is a theme that has animated review in all of the disciplines. In science, the 6th and 8th grade concentrations will be switched, earth science moving to the 6th grade and physical science moving to the 8th, triggering curriculum adjustments for different ages of students. And in elementary math, there are innovations being studied that address mathematical cognition on the student-by-student basis. At the middle school level, the math will have 2 courses rather than 3, which should cause problems in placement. I'll stop there. We could easily have devoted the entire study session to this topic, and my report could easily go on for half an hour detailing the information that we received. Third, we heard from Christina Robertson, EL Program Administrator, English Learner Program Administrator, as well as Sarah Holte, Angela Froming, Kelly Gruchelski, and Kelsey Turnbull, all EL teachers, about the district's EL program. We heard in particular on the resiliency of the students in the face of needing to stay home in the pandemic. The silver linings in this case were increased attendance of EL programming, as well as the integration of the whole families into the work and fun of mastering the English language in an academic context. The work was no less challenging to the teachers, many of them thrown into a distance context. And yet the program thrived. In particular, we heard about progress in ELM, English Learners in the Mainstream, a program that our teachers have been working on with Hamline University, and that was able to convert positively to a distance format while that was necessary. Lastly, we discussed the process of superintendent evaluation, and Director Chu at last said what we were all thinking: why are we doing this? Dr. Sicoli, a distinguished and completely remarkable superintendent, will be transitioning into a richly deserved retirement in July. That leaves us only to consider his many achievements in Roseville, beginning with those of an avid, that's small a avid, middle school student in the 1960s, and ending with the progress our district has made over the past 6 years under his astute and compassionate leadership, which I expect we'll be celebrating loudly and long. Thank you, Aldo Sicoli.
You're here.
That's it.
Thank you, Frank, for that excellent update.
I would like to move that Frank be the note taker for the rest of his term.
Second.
Okay. Clerk Johnson, will you please take the roll?
I'll
Sorry.
save Frank. We didn't have that on the agenda as an action item, so we can't actually vote on that. So maybe next time. There you go, Frank.
Hey, Frank, very kind of you, but I do want to correct something because I'm not quite as old as you imply. My junior high years in the district were in the early 70s.
In the early 70s. I figured it's probably the early 70s, but my middle school years were in the 60s. And so, middle school was the 60s.
Thank you. With that, we'll move to board reports. Anyone want to start out with sharing anything this evening? Scanning the faces. All right, Frank.
Now, since I've vocally warmed up, I will say a couple of things. I attended, as part of the 916 board, a training in restorative justice, which they're working on at 916 right now. I think what they were talking about is what we've already been doing at Roseville, and it's encouraging to see the implementation there and the training that the board is going through. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I happened to be in Central Park Elementary School last week and walked up the hall, and the school is just humming. And it's just wonderful to see how the students are taking their education seriously, but also are appreciating it. And this is something, this was true last year when I spent a lot of time at Central Park too, but there was quite a bit more noise and a little bit more chaos back then. That is absent, it seems, and everyone is really taking their education seriously. It's quite clear as you look into classrooms and see the way the students are just moving around the classes, how well it's working. And so I just wanted to compliment Central Park. I'm sure that this sort of thing is going on all across the district, and it's just exciting to see the in-person learning going forward.
Thank you, Frank. Anyone else? Curtis.
All right. So, excuse me. My favorite topic, Social Studies Standards Committee, has been meeting literally in subgroups 2 to 3 times a week, so that come June, we'll be able to provide a second draft for everyone's approval. And just want to take my hat off to a lot of very hardworking people trying to get this done and get it right. And so I will also, as I do every time, implore everybody when we do submit it, please go through it and let us know what you like, what you don't like, because we can't provide, the best thing for our students if people hold back. So, let us know. The other thing is that I had the opportunity to watch. I was over at Roseville Area High School, and was able to watch Roseville Area High School students march over to the City Hall. It's not. I did not join them, but supported what they were doing, and it was great to see learning happening inside school as well as outside the school. So, and my hats off to the folks at Roseville Area High School that kept everybody safe. So that's it.
Thank you, Curtis. Todd.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a couple meetings to attend last week. It started out with the District Curriculum Advisory Committee. And thanks, Director Johnson, for mentioning the student walkout, because the first part of our DCAC meeting was a space, a good discussion we had about the student walkout, protesting racial injustice. So it was a great way to notify the DCAC about how it went, and everyone was pretty proud of the fact that students were exercising their their First Amendment rights. So we started out the meeting that way. We had the curriculum annual review report that the school board had seen previously. We went over that in some greater depth with the DCAC. And then Jake and Melissa Sonic introduced us to a new council, a new committee that I think we'll be hearing more about down the road, but very student driven. Started out with student voice, but there's going to be a new LGBTQ plus equity council that we're going to be hearing more about. Students, staff, parents, families, and admin will be on it. So there'll be more to come on that. Extremely excited to hear about that. And then I think it was Tuesday night, and I had an opportunity to attend the Brimhall PTA meeting about an hour and a half after the Derek Chauvin verdict had been placed out into the community. So our meeting opened up with a really good space discussion about that verdict, the grief and the trauma that has been happening, and what Brimhall staff and teachers have been doing and talking to students and families about some of that grief and that trauma. And also a great update on one of Brimhall's biggest events of the year, the readathon. And that was still moving forward during the pandemic and how it was going. And so far it was a success. So that was it.
Thank you. Kitty or Rose? Kitty?
Sure. A few different things that I'd like to update on. I had a chance to attend the MSBA school law update. And there were two major topics, both related to civil rights. One was around transgender accommodation, or specifically even broader than that, really the definition of sex in law to include both gender orientation and gender identity. And reviewed a variety of courses, I'm sure, cases. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the Supreme Court cases last December in particular, but lots of other things around that, but nothing too surprising for the way the district has been working or operating for quite a while. The area that I found perhaps a little bit more informative or new to me was around free speech. I mean, it's certainly well established that students don't shun their constitutional right when they come in the school door, but there are a number of cases going on, and there is something before the Supreme Court this spring around how to deal with the news speech in the 21st century, or in essence, this, the social media and making comments around related to school on social media that have an effect on school, and where does free speech stop and where does schools influence or role lie. And so that would be something very interesting to watch. Have more information if anybody should be interested, but that's the gist of it. They also, MSBA does have on their website a variety of cases if somebody would want to learn more about that. Had a chance to attend the Falcon Heights PTA meeting last week, and that was the day of the last transition, and they picked up 40 students. And with some creative laying out patterns in rooms, they were able to keep all the students 3 feet apart. And they were very pleased with the COVID protocols and how students were dealing with and working through that, and everyone who was supporting that. One thing that was interesting, it was neat to hear that even in this time of pandemic, that there's been a project, a partnership or collaboration with seniors through kind of coordinated with the city of Falcon Heights to bring seniors into the room for story time. And they had 5 seniors coming regularly to help volunteer in that effort. Got a chance to attend the local elected leaders, elected officials meeting. And I know there were 4 of the board members there. So most folks had an opportunity, as well as I'll mention in a moment, also with the Special Education Advisory Committee, there was an opportunity to kind of share thoughts and feelings on the Chauvin verdict. I think that kind of probably dominated most of the meetings last week, which was such a big development going in our community. Got to hear the presentation from Dr. Sokoli and Dr. Lake on the levy and material that we also got to see as a board at our last meeting. It was interesting to hear that Little Canada is looking at a levy and HRA is looking at a levy. That was probably 2 very helpful pieces of information. Of course, as always, it's always interesting to hear what the different levels of types of government functions are doing. I did not able to attend the Special Education Advisory Committee, but I did have a chance to view the video. They post their video so that all special education families have an opportunity or access to the material, which is a wonderful way to have it available. And the meeting was really focusing on vocational rehabilitation services that are offered through DEED, but we actually in our high school or in our for our 14 to 21-year-olds, we have a rehab rep and a rehab counselor available to support the students, offering job exploration, work experience opportunities, work readiness training, training at college or exploration of college, and self-advocacy skills, particularly in the workplace, and how the partnership between the Minnesota Department of Education, the school district, and the vocational rehab services is working and connecting the students with the support they need. And got to hear a lot about that and some great examples of successes through that. So that was all. And I think that, oh, no, there's one more. Wait a minute. No, I covered the ones I wanted to. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Kitty. Rose, did you have anything for us this evening?
I just echo, I went to the meeting that Dr. Sukali put together quarterly for the local officials. I just find that meeting very helpful to understand how, what is going on at city level, at the county level, at the state level, as in particularly from the lens of Roseville Area School. And then for the Roseville Area School to be able to kind of provide updates. And I know many, like Josh was there, and I know Dr. Lake was there. I think Sherry was there. And so I know we all, I think the group was very appreciative that Superintendent-elect Dr. Lake will continue that tradition to make sure that we stay connected that way, to really look for ways to collaborate and continue to leverage each other's resources to do the work that we need to do for the community. So really appreciate that. I've actually used that as an example. I gave someone else asking me like, how are y'all doing? I go, well, I actually offered this example of how, that in Roseville Area District that we have a model of really partnering with local area officials. So thank you. Thank you very much.
And that's another example of something Dr. Sicoli has brought to our district.
Yes.
There was great appreciation for that addition.
So it's a culture now, right? That people almost now say want other districts to be doing the same, so that we can actually work closer together and continue to cultivate those partnerships. So thank you.
And just to add on to that point too, Commissioner Mary Jo McGuire is always someone who's very appreciative of these local government official meetings, and she says so at every opportunity. And she mentions that, we don't take it for granted here. Not every single school district. She tells all these other school districts to do something like this. And we're one of the very few. So she's very appreciative of the fact. And we do have something special here. And thanks again to Dr. Sicoli.
Yeah, thank you. That's your legacy.
Thanks, Rose. I just have a few things. So one, I'll add on to that. I agree. And I think Dr. Lake recognizes this. It's not just an information exchange that, we should probably name it the Dr. Sicoli, honorary quarterly update or something, but it's a forum for us to ask for help. And I think we will do that. And as Dr. Sicoli did in the past, it's the way in, not just in that forum setting, but then to get FaceTime with the various bodies that those folks represent as we move ahead, for example, in messaging around the levy referendum and where to go. So maybe we should just call it that, the Sicoli meeting or something. Everybody would understand what that meant. So, although great idea there. Let's see. Second thing, we did have another Equity Alliance Minnesota meeting. Just three things. One, they continue to be involved in outselling their work. They've gotten some engagements. They have a line on others. They're busy doing grant writing grant applications. So they're doing the good stuff they should do. Secondly, they're at the end of the last period that was covered by the previous strategic plan. So Sebastian Witherspoon, the executive director, we're putting together a process to share with our board there on how he proposes to kind of move ahead and recraft, redraft, reformulate, re-envision the mission and the strategy as they move ahead over the next 3 to 5 years. And then the third small thing, Paula O'Laughlin, who many of you may know, has rejoined Equity Alliance Minnesota.
Yep.
So after 10 years with EMID EAMN, she had left to join MSBA and now has come back as of last month to be to work with development and learning within Equity Alliance. So welcome back to Paula. And then my final thing is I also was able with Curtis to go and cheer on the students as they began their walkout last week, and really commend Dr. Scully and Assistant Superintendent Lake for also being there to show their support, along with Principal Hester and a lot of the leadership of the high school. And again, as Curtis mentioned, none of the grown-ups went with the kids because this was their thing. And you know, what really impressed me was the seriousness that those kids undertook this with which they undertook this. You know, it was, for one thing, it was cold. I mean, with a really brisk wind and snow flurries, and you know, they weren't out there to be on a lark, to be able to get out of school for half an hour or an hour while they did this. They were committed. They were all dressed pretty much 100% in black as they had organized themselves. And again, for those in the community who may not realize this, this was a student-led and student-initiated event statewide that was self-organized by students across the state, kind of behind the scenes. And so to have probably about 300 kids come out ready, and some of those 300 didn't come out the doors. They were kids who'd been remote learning, who either they themselves or their family members drove them up in cars and they jumped out ready to roll with the group. It was just really, really impressive, and made me very proud that these were kids who were active and are in a school environment in which our teachers and our staff and our district leadership encourages that kind of participation and that kind of civic engagement. So they felt that they could do that and would want to do that. So it was just a very, very, very proud moment to see them kind of go off. You know, they're kids, so they were clustering and chatting, but it wasn't jocular or jovial. It was a very somber occasion. They were very serious about what they wanted to do and why they were there to do it. So it's very, very impressive. So with that, we'll turn to Dr. Sicoli for his superintendent report.
Well, thank you. So again, I'd like to thank the community for passing the bond referendum in November 2017, and projects continue to be on time and within budget as we're approaching the last few months of the final two projects. The Betu Techa Education Center, the construction of that building, and then the John J. Tyne Performing Arts Center at Roseville Area High School. So we look with anticipation towards completion of those projects, and we are thankful to the community. It was brought up during this meeting that we have an operating levy that's going to expire, and certainly that's been on our minds for quite some time and in our discussions. And so I do want to remind the community that that bond referendum that was 2017 is for facilities, and that really the operating referendum, operating levy, is what helps with learning. It helps staff our buildings. It helps get the materials students need to learn. We do have one that's going to expire, so the board knows that to avoid that, they need to go out on the ballot in November of 2021. And then we also know that an increase is needed for a variety of reasons. So they alluded to a survey that was done recently, earlier in this meeting, and I think Dr. Shaw's summary of the last study session. And so certainly that will be taken into consideration. Next steps is we bring some potential options for ballot questions to the board at the next meeting and study session to process further as they approach a timeline of making important decisions in the coming months. As numerous board members have mentioned at this meeting, I just want to cite our students too. We have amazing students. They're going to change the world for the better. And, you know, so I will also cite the same two things that board members cited, because they're consistent with the district's equity vision, and they speak to student voice, and really we're both student initiators. So the LGBTQ plus committee, that's really student initiated. And so great things are already coming from that and will come in the future. And then also, as was mentioned, not just initiated by our students at Roseville Area High School, but also statewide. The march here that went to City Hall to advocate for racial justice. It's just great to see our young people, young adults act in this way to advocate for a better society. So they continue to amaze me, and it's great to be associated with them. So I'm appreciative of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Aldo. With that, having completed the business before us tonight, we're adjourned.
Bye,
Good
everyone.
night, everyone.
Bye.
Good night.